It looked like at the start of the week we might be suffering from a few difficulties that had occurred during the Atlanta game, a bit banged up from a very intense affair last weekend, but bodies have recovered well, look in a very decent place, and I would expect that we've got a full group to choose from again this weekend.
Thank you, Coach. We are going to open the floor for questions. We are going to start with those in the room. Bob, go ahead.
Gary, did you feel like last week the offense finally got back on track?
Yeah, there've been a couple of things that we've been trying to look at as a group, and obviously for those front guys, getting on the score sheet, putting them in those more offensive areas are always going to be a benefit for the group. But I thought the whole performance was a more complete one last weekend against a very, very good team. And it was nice to be able to look back and reflect on one or two of the periods in a game that we either dominated and did well in, or struggled and why, but came through. And I think that in itself gives us a much better foundation to move on from. And of course, the confidence of beating one of the top sides in the Eastern Conference is always a bit of a boost as well.
Yeah, the defense backed it like it was too. It seemed like keeping the ball out of it.
Yeah, I mean, we've done a good job all season as a team. At varying stages, there have been individuals that have stuck out more than others in results or clean sheets. And of course, Joe has been in some terrific form in these first 10 games. But again, as a group at the weekend, I thought we put a lot of effort into trying to win the ball back in good areas of the field. We did a very sound job of recovering our group and being tough to break down at certain times in the game. And when there were moments of a sight of goal for Atlanta, I thought there was some bravery as well, throwing their bodies on the line and putting themselves in positions to deny Atlanta any opportunities. So it's a nice combination. Consistency is the key now, and we'll be looking to try and back that up with a good performance at the weekend.
Thank you, Bob. We are going to transition onto the Zoom. Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, Gary, I think we talked about this after the Atlanta game, but you finished the game kind of without a target striker and kind of more Honey playing in a different role. I feel like we've mostly seen you guys play with the target forward up top, but is that an option that you kind of consider more? As you said, you had to be creative now without CJ.
I think it is, Ben. I think Till's going to be in a good position for the weekend. I don't see a problem there. But as I looked at the way the game evolved and some of the things that we were able to get out of those final moments, it certainly was something for me to reflect on and think, you know what, there might well be a situation where you could see the likes of Hani, Jacob and Fafa being a front line for us. There are teams around the league, notably a group like Dallas, that you could look at and say, you know what, all three of those guys that play up front, Ferreira, obviously a terrific centre forward, but very agile, very technical, very mobile. Areola, Velasco and O'Brien, those guys are, incredibly capable and probably not a lot different to what we would maybe see out of our guys. So there are a number of different things that I've got, moving around inside my head. At this moment, I don't think I'm going to have to dig deep in the sort of back shadows of my mind and, pull out something that we haven't seen before. But it's certainly something that I've got to keep abreast of.
Ben, do you have any follow-ups?
Yeah, just one more. Gary, I know we talked a lot about Ake while he was here, and we just saw that his contract was mutually terminated. I'm just curious now that whole saga's over, if you kind of have an assessment of what went wrong, and with an open DP spot, is that something you guys are exploring, maybe adding to in the summer?
Yeah, I think it's sometimes difficult, Ben, to say, look, this was the reason why something doesn't work with whatever player that is, and of course it's magnified when it's such a high-profile player. But there were some things along the way that obviously didn't settle into how he could evolve in a new environment, and of course with a team. And I think the circumstances that we found ourselves in have given us now the opportunity to move forward and to look at what those options are. And as we sit here right now, of course the window's closed. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes constantly, as I've said before, to always look for whether it be a game-changing player or a defender that can come in and make a difference, a midfield player that we might see down the line that could settle into the group. So we're constantly discussing those sort of situations. I don't quite know what that looks like as the window opens again, but for sure there'll be plenty of dialogue on it.
Tim, go ahead.
Hey, Gary, you mentioned having a full complement of players. Does that yet include Randall and Sean back as well?
Yeah, those two guys are going to be in the equation for selection. Obviously, both have missed the last couple of games in Randall's situation far longer than that. But he's had a good week's training. There's some assessment from my side as to what that means with a very busy month coming up with Open Cup as well. So, yes, all of those guys are available. I think including Lucas, who just got himself in town last week. So, we'll see how that all pans out and what it means for the group. But it's always nice to have players, especially good ones, coming back into the fold.
And then you mentioned Lucas. I actually wanted to ask what you've seen out of him so far since he's been with you guys for about a week so far.
Yeah, he hasn't done a huge amount of work on field with us. He was carrying a little bit of a tight groin when he came in, but physically he's in a much better place. I think he's probably had his best day today. As I say, whether or not that means he's part of the 20-man group or he needs a tad longer, but physically he's fit and available now for us. It'll just be determining whether or not he's ready for match play. Great lad. Seems a really good personality, very buoyant, very bubbly, great enthusiasm for the game. I think he'll be a really good fit. His connection with Jacob is obviously the easiest one to look at and see, but I think he's settled in very, very nicely from what I can tell.
And then as you look to this weekend, what have you seen so far out of the Fire? What are going to be some of the challenges that they present to you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I've read multiple times about the games that they've, lost leads. I think we've all been in that position before as a group where you get yourself in front and can't quite see it through. But what I have seen is a side that's more than capable. I don't quite know what group we'll see out. I think they've had a couple of bodies come back into the fold as maybe we have. The Navarros. It seems like the young boy Gutierrez has nudged himself in front of ShaqIri at the moment. But what you know is that ShaqIri is an incredibly talented guy, and if he does turn up on the day, then something to be very, very mindful of. Kai still continues to be a threat and a thorn in pretty much everyone's side. But I've always liked Shabilko. I think he's a good target man, and he's proven in the past that he can be a real threat in front of goal. They've got choices. They've got opportunities to move this group around, to change the group to what they see or Ezra sees as the right team to get the job done. And to that degree, it can be difficult to judge who's going to be out there, what team they're going to play. But I think these are one of the sides early on in the season. If you want to look at the league table, you're making a grave mistake. They've lost 2 games only. They've been ultra competitive. They should have got at least a point down in Atlanta when they lost in literally, the dying seconds of the game from a dead ball situation, and a very fortuitous one. They could be in a very, very different position, which, might have shed a completely different thought process on this for some people, but not for us.